future, talk radio will actually educate, inspire, and make you think. The future is now. Topics and music that affect your life from Universal Broadcasting Network. Tune in at ubnradio.com.
Hello, everyone. Dr. Judy here of Dr. Judy, WTF. And I want to begin by saying that we're going to go to a very dark side today. The topic of today is mind mapping, satanic ritual abuse. And we are going to be hosting a patient, well, not really a patient, but a volunteer who has volunteered to go through a mind map breakdown of her experience with satanic ritual abuse. So she has been busy doing the mind map video series, and so as a result of her processing panel 1 and 2 and 3, we're going to launch right into her childhood wounds, how they embed and how they encoded, and that's what's going to be the theme of today. And we're probably not going to take any callers, maybe one or two. Basically, we're going to focus on this case study and mind mapping her ritualistic abuse. For those of you who don't know what I'm talking about with panel 1, 2, and 3, let me start by introducing the mind map, which is a tool that I created to heal human, disconnect, and heal the wounds of childhood. If you look at the mind map, you will see that it is divided into 3 rows. The top being our past, wounds of childhood, how they encode in us. And then the middle row is how they destroy us. And the bottom row is how we need to morph out of that into healing. And what is really interesting about the mind map is, well, many things, but for one, it elucidates how our childhood wounds live within us today. I have my own terminology, as some of you may know, terminology such as psychovirus, the malignant mental viruses that get in our head from multi-generations of messaging, both verbal and nonverbal, and how they crack our lens of perception on life and thwart our ability to manifest the best of our best, which I call the big I, and reduces us to what I call the little I, or the compromised self. And we're going to look to see how Raquel, our case study, experienced her panel 1 wounds, how she reacted to those wounds, how she encoded those wounds. Then next week, we're going to talk about how those wounds broke her down, created defense mechanisms, and eventually broke her down to the point of dysfunction. So she will be calling in, hopefully, in a few minutes. But in the meantime, I want to talk a little bit about ritual abuse. I want to introduce you to my mind map video series, which I finally completed. And Raquel is now processing through the video, which is a 9-panel series that I conduct, going deeply into childhood wounds and the whole mind map process. It comes with a case study. It also comes with a sample of the peaceful healing dialogue, which is a way for people to process and keep the relationship intact and not break the bonds with the people that they love. And also it comes with a mind map perspective from a child's point of view, my grandson, who breaks down the mind map from his perspective. It's a pretty comprehensive plan. It includes a PDF of the Be the Cause Healing Human Disconnect book, which is also available on Amazon. And it also includes the Peaceful Healing Dialogue and some other tools for people to use to get themselves from the past wounds through the process of breaking them down and morphing out into healing. So ritual abuse, as defined by the Ritual Abuse Task Force, is a brutal form of abuse of children, adolescents, and adults consisting of physical, sexual, and psychological. Rituals do not necessarily mean satanic. However, in Raquel's case, I believe they turned into the darkest of the dark. Most survivors state that they were ritually abused as part of satanic worship for the purpose of indoctrinating them into satanic beliefs and practices. So let me know when Raquel calls in, because I'm awaiting her call. So Raquel, if you're listening, please feel free to call in anytime. I'm going to go a little bit further into ritual abuse and what it consists of. It usually involves repeated abuse over an extended period of time. And for some of you who have watched the episodes on sex trafficking, it's sort of parallel to that because there's a grooming involved. There's a grooming process that prepares the person to be part of this indoctrination. In the last few years, survivors have been disclosing experience of satanic ritual abuse to rape crisis centers. Obviously, that's part of the ritual abuse. And I think we have Raquel on the line. So, hello, Raquel, how are you? Are you there? Hello, hello? Is she there?
She's on the phone, but she's not talking.
Okay. Raquel, are you able to hear me? Give it a minute here. I think I hear something. Hi, Raquel.
Oh, hello.
Hello,
Hi.
how are you? I wasn't sure
I'm
if the topic traumatized you so much that you went speechless, or if we had a bad connection. And obviously, this is a very, very hard topic, and I thank you so much for
It is.
volunteering. Yes, it really, really is, and I really thank you for volunteering to allow me to mind map your entire psychological history. And I know that you've been watching the video series, and of course many people are interested in what are these video series. Some people have purchased the video series, some have not. And so maybe you can share a little bit about your experience of how you're relating to these videos.
Oh, okay. Goodness. First of all, this is a really hard topic, and it takes a lot of courage for me to do this.
I know.
It's not just for me, but it's for other people because, I can do the program by myself.
Yep.
But I want to say the program has opened me up, Dr. Judy, to stuff I didn't even thinking know I was thinking, and it makes sense why I am broken down, and it is showing me that, Raquel, this is very serious. This is not something you can continue to ignore.
Yeah.
Just since talking to you, so much light has been shined on things that I would have never remembered. And so looking at the panels, reading the book, I've been reading the book. I've been reading the first 30 pages over and over.
Okay.
And, because from all the trauma, it's hard to remember, and I don't have a photographic memory anymore, and I'm actually damaged in the way that I cannot retain things anymore.
Okay.
But the mind map, the way it breaks it down, I always tell people, explain to me in a way that you would explain to a child because I'm slow now.
Exactly.
And it really does.
That's what it
work.
has to, that's how it has to be, because when people are traumatized like yourself, what happens is that the cognitive functioning is interfered with, and trauma creates dissociative episodes, and trauma absolutely interferes with our ability to concentrate. So you've noticed that, have you not?
Oh, goodness, yes. It's hard for me to even add 2 plus 4 or basic little singular digits. And I'm like Rain Man sometimes. I'll get stuck in saying things, parroting things over and over because it's a coping skill. And I did not realize that until I started studying your program.
Okay. So one of the things I was concerned about, obviously, is that the level of your panel 1 wounds is so deep. And, I'm thinking, well, you can reach out to me, you can reach out to the team. And I know that you're watching these videos. And I thought, wow, are you feeling re-traumatized by watching the videos and going so deep into places that maybe you've never gone before?
I am, but here's the thing, is I've always been a person of truth. I have always digged, if that's how you say it, for the answers, and I have kept myself in therapy. So I was telling my therapist I need to go into trauma counseling or ritual abuse, sexual trauma counseling, because I'm never going to be okay. I'm dying. I know when I'm supposed to exit this world if I do not heal this stuff. And I told her I do not know what is keeping me attached to these type of people continuously showing up in my life.
Okay.
And now I know.
And now you know. Okay, and now you truly know the definition of the WTF, or the what the Freud, and right?
I've heard that a lot.
Okay, and just for those of you who don't know, so that you can kind of be on the same page of what we are talking about, the what the Freud is the repetitive cycle, and I call it what the Freud because Dr. Sigmund Freud talks about the repetition principle. We repeat things because the psychological file is still open. We want to go back into it because we want to finish the psychological business. So, Raquel, this is going to be the opening of the wound for the purpose of closing the psychological files once and for all. Okay?
I'm excited. I've waited for this all my life.
I'm really excited too, because I think this is the first time ever, well, the video series is relatively new, so this is the first time ever that I'm talking to somebody who's watched the video series before we've spoken and can give me honest, rigorous feedback about it. And I'm completely open, and you could say whatever you want about it. This is a very free forum of self-expression, and I am a firm believer that the way to improving ourselves and morphing into a better us is to self-express and self-correct, and that's the way we have to do it, is self-reflect on our issues, on our pain, and express that, and eventually self-correct. So unlike ritual abuse, which opens wounds for the purposes of injecting the darkness, correct? This is opening the wounds in order for the light to pour in. So the consciousness is different, and I'm hoping that you're noticing that.
Can you explain that?
Yes, I'll explain it. Yeah, absolutely. I'll explain it with the philosophy of the mind map, which is that consciousness is causal. So if, for example, I'm a demonic ritual abuser, then I would want to open you up, figuratively, literally speaking, to pour in my poison, to pour in my darkness. Okay?
Right.
So the mind map is the opposite. We're going in there, so we're still opening you up. However, we're coming from the consciousness of healing to open those wounds so that we can expose them. We can understand how they reacted in you and how they embedded you into you and how they broke you down. So it's for the purposes of healing as opposed to the purposes of torturing you. That's what I'm referring to.
Right. And the darkness doesn't ever want you to go back and address the problem. The problem I've had is people in church, even people who are supposed to counsel people, or people in life, have said, you need to get over that. You need to forget it. The past is the past.
No possibility.
How do I get over it? I need to know what happened to me, because and I've always known this. I was very smart as a child.
Okay.
I always knew you had to hit a problem face on, no matter how ugly it was.
Yep.
But I was so brainwashed that I was made to forget this, that my whole life was a lie.
Well,
and I started having flashbacks of satanic ritual abuse.
Okay.
I thought I was crazy.
Okay, so look at what you're talking about for the purposes of learning. You have PTSD, complex PTSD, which is old wounds unresolved, correct? The flashbacks are telling you to go over it and over it because it's your body's way, it's your psyche's way of saying, let's go back in order to heal it so that it won't have to keep reverberating and doing that, what the Freud that we're talking about. So I want to go into your panel 1 wounds, and I know that you have been listening to the introduction and panel 1, and just briefly tell me, what have you learned from those 2 videos in relationship to yourself?
That my mother trying to kill me and other people was not okay. And that has caused a lot of psychological problems.
Okay, that's an understatement, right? Not okay. Your mother trying to kill you, not okay. Yeah, understatement of the world. Right. Okay, so if you can,
it's terrible, isn't it?
It's amazing.
It's kind of comical, but it's terrible.
It's terrible. Okay, and so tell me a little bit about, because what we do in the Mind Map video series is we do in the Mind Map therapy in the system, whether it be one-on-one or via the video or via group, which, by the way, I just want to announce this so that I don't forget. I'm going to be hosting a Mind Map group that I will be conducting live at the Psychological Healing Center. It'll take place over a 3-day period, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I believe it's September 14th, 15th, 16th, if I have the dates right. For those of you who are interested, if you sign up in the next 24 hours, you get $300 off. So that's pretty significant. And please contact me at the Psychological Healing Center. So if you're interested, I can reserve that spot for you. It's going to be in Sherman Oaks at the Psychological Healing Center, and it'll take place over 3 days. And details, please ask me about. So I'm very excited about that. And of course, you're welcome to come. Of course, you're welcome to come.
I want to say, people, get in there, because you will uncover things with just the first panel. You will discover the wounds that you didn't even know were there.
And this is the first time that I'm conducting it on a group basis, because a lot of people want to work with me. They cannot afford to work with me, and this is a very affordable way to work with me. And by the way, this particular seminar comes with the Mind Map video series and the PDF version of the book and a hard copy of the book and even lunch. And I'm not going to be cooking so that you can enjoy your lunch, okay? It will be catered. Because I don't want to upset anybody, all right? Okay. So with that said, because especially today we're talking about poison and psychological poison, so I'm not going there. I'm not going there. Okay, so if you would be so kind, as you know, it's so interesting to me all the time that we're talking about the most horrific of the horrifics, and somehow part of healing is laughing about it, isn't it? Somehow it is.
I do comedy.
Oh,
I laugh about it.
Oh, maybe
it's hysterical. That's how I survived it.
Maybe you'll come and and do your comedy routine on how you've healed the wounds of your past. That would be very stand-up comedy-ish. I could see that happening.
Fun.
So we want to look. Yeah, that would be a lot of fun. And I want to look with you at the backdrop of your panel 1, which is your mother-infant disconnect, your father-infant disconnect. And as people who've been listening know, there are 5 childhood wounds that, in general, I'm aware of, and you can say more about that if you want to add to that. There's obviously physical abuse. There's obviously sexual abuse. There's obviously verbal emotional abuse, and not so obviously neglect and smothering. Okay, so if we look at your mother, your blueprint, we also know from John Bowlby, which you've been studying because you're reading the book and you're listening to the video series and watching them. John Bowlby states that in order to have a healthy human psyche, we have to have the emotional goodies, which include breastfeeding, eye contact, skin contact, a mother that's attuned to her child, a pretty stable environment in general. It would be very, very helpful if the father were there to support the mother and nurture the nurturer. And then it would be very helpful if nobody did drugs, and it would be very helpful if there was economic stability and so on and so forth, and the white picket fence. And how many people get that? Well, not too many. Okay? It's just not very common. So what happened with you? What kind of mother did you have? What did you get? What did you not get?
We did not get love. We've been through every form of abuse.
And where are you? Where are you calling from?
I'm in Oklahoma City.
Okay, Oklahoma City. Is that where you grew up? Is this where this was all happening?
No, I grew up in Ohio, which there's a lot of witchcraft out there. Mm-hmm. My mother stole us away from the family and my father and took us to California, which there's a lot of ritual abuse out there.
In California?
The town that I moved to, yes. Mm-hmm. The town that I moved to, there's cults of witches. I mean, I was actually taken off the streets and used in ritual abuse. It's followed me all my life till I put a stop to it about 4 years ago because my beliefs changed. And so I was able to come out of the weird, spooky, spiritual stuff,
yes,
but I still attract the bad people.
Okay. And may I ask, how old are you?
I'm 48.
Okay, so it's only been 4 years that you're out of this. So for 44 years, you were deep in the darkest of the dark. I refer to the double dungeon of darkness. You give new meaning to this double dungeon of darkness. Absolutely no light.
Thank you.
Yeah, right. Take it to a whole new level here. Okay, so were both your parents part of the abuse?
My mother's side was into satanic and witchcraft. My father's side as well. I don't remember a lot of bad about him.
Okay.
She took us away from him, but he was estranged from us. She did not let us come around, and I'm starting to remember things that she actually fled and stole us away because of the abuse that was starting to be recognized.
Who's she?
On our bodies.
Who stole you away?
My mother. She fled from Ohio to California with us and cut off contact with everyone. We were at her mercy and her molester boyfriend's mercy.
Okay, so I want to make clear, your mother tried to pull you out of this?
No, my mother took us away from all of the family so that she could further abuse us.
Oh, the opposite.
Because I realized through doing the mind map, I'm remembering, and people actually started to see bruises on us, and we were covered with tights, and dressed cute, but, it was to hide our wounds, and I realized people started to see that.
And audience.
And so she took us away before she could get caught.
Okay. Before Child Protective Services could step in. I see. Mm-hmm. Okay. And so this is from, where did you say? From Ohio to California?
Yes.
Okay. And so I'm also wanting people to be psychoeducated in this so that if you see signs of this with children, and you're going to help the audience understand what to look for, because we have to protect our children, right? We have to be the guardians of our children, because sometimes parents obviously are not. Okay, so what kind of mother was she? You said that she was not loving at all. So was she?
She was a rager.
A rager.
She was a psychopath.
Okay, you think she was a psychopath?
I've seen people murdered.
I'm sorry?
In therapy with the PTSD specialist, who was a trauma specialist,
Yes.
he was used in federal and forensic cases, as highly as educated as could be. He died.
He died?
He said if Raquel, yes, from PTSD complications, we had the same issues, and he could not deal with the pain from Vietnam in his past.
I see.
So he succumbed,
Okay.
and that was very hard for me.
Yeah,
to
and this
see.
was your counselor, your therapist?
Yes, he was.
That's
Yeah.
very
He's
sad.
the one that first initially diagnosed me.
Okay.
And since he passed, my life has gone into a tailspin again.
Okay,
for
and
the last 9 years.
makes total sense because he was your role
does,
model for
okay.
getting through it, and then when you see your healer commit
Yeah.
suicide, right? Then it
Really, that's what it was. He gave up. Yeah.
yeah, he gave up
Yeah.
on himself. I'm very sorry, and
Mhm.
it's no no doubt that you sought out another healer, and that thank you. That's me, and I feel a very big sense of
Thank you.
responsibility.
You too.
And so we're
you.
going to get through this thing because we're going to peel it back to the point of the cause, is what I say about the point
Right.
of origin. Okay, so your mother was pretty out there. She was a psychopath, which to me
Yes.
means that there was absolutely no empathy, and not only no empathy,
Right.
but further than that, the desire to hurt other people and majorly project pain onto other people, which is parallel to ritual abuse, correct?
Yes, absolutely. And she thrived on it.
And
I remember people being murdered, people that loved me, that my mother had anger with. They ended up dead. And I'm starting to remember being in these places with her while she silently did things. And then, oh, how miraculous. She finds out the person's dead before everyone else does and has no
Interesting.
sympathy, but is actually excited.
And it's so,
about it.
it's to me, it's so interesting being an outsider, not ever having experienced anything like this. It seems so interesting that
Good.
the police aren't called in and investigators aren't called in, and that this doesn't turn legal
No.
really quickly. Why do you think that's so?
Darkness covers it. I have had these people traumatize my life, take my children, everyone that I love from me, to punish me because I did not submit to the darkness. They know when you're called, and if you don't do what you're told, I was supposed to be a high priestess, they torture you, they do everything but kill you because they could not do that to me. They were told, you can torture her, you can abuse her, but you'll never be able to kill her. You have to break her down till she kills herself. I couldn't even do that. But it's from people that you'd be shocked, from all walks of life, from the highest to the lowest statuses, that cover these things for each other. And also when the dark forces are happening, people that are into drugs and alcohol and not in full awareness of their faculties or facilities, how would you say that?
Yeah.
They are used. They
Okay.
can be used, and they will not remember what they've done.
Okay, so there is a collusion, if you will, between childhood wounds and the darkness of those childhood wounds and the desire to project the pain onto other people, correct? And then in this case, they ritualize this so that they can organize in a way that it's a society. Correct? It's a society of what would you call it? A society of what? What's the goal? What's the end goal?
It's a society of, and I realized this in the last few days by working your program, watching your videos. I've rewinded those videos. Like, if they're worn out, it might have been me. But it's a society of narcissists, the psychopath, the antisocial personality, the malignant narcissist.
Yes. Okay.
That's what all these people end up becoming, and it's really sad because they have no empathy for anyone, not even animals, nothing.
Well,
and their tender mercies are cruel.
What do you
they
mean
will feed
tender?
you just to keep you alive so that they can further torture you.
That's what you mean by tender mercies. So they'll keep you alive for the sake of having an object, which you then become, of torture. Okay, so give me a little bit of history on your father.
Okay, my father, I don't know a whole lot. My mother always said he was crazy. I do not remember him harming us. I remember him being the one that looked out for us and fed us, provided a good home. My mother ran him off. He never allowed me to have a relationship with him because I was not allowed to. My mother stole us away.
Mm-hmm.
But my father would drive to California as a truck driver, and he seemed to know what we were doing. He would send us gifts that we did not know were ours, that were from him,
Mm-hmm.
but we were not allowed to even speak of him. She would go into rages and just beat us senseless. So it was scary to talk about him. And when I finally did get to speak to him at age 12, I had to be angry at him because my mother was there. So about 10 years ago, when I tried to reach out to him, he was angry. He was verbally abusive. He blamed me. He would not listen. He would not understand.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, your family, your mother and sister told me that you're crazy. I don't need these problems. I know all about you, which I've always been a very loving, kind, the sensible one in all the family.
Mm-hmm.
So he totally rejected me. And then he died.
And then he died.
But he told me that his mother... Yes, he told me his mother was into Satanism, like a really wicked, wicked person that he did not mess with.
His mother, your father's mother.
Yes.
So this is it's very multi-generational. We can see that. Yes. Marie Bowen, multi-generational transmission process. Your father, who seemed to be not as cruel, certainly, picked a wife that was psychopathic and into this satanic cult, and he picked his mother. You
My
see
mother
that?
Was his mother.
Correct, correct. So
in a different body.
Right, so you could see the parallel process there. And so it's sad because your father didn't understand that you were groomed to be this way. He didn't understand that you were in a hostage situation and that you weren't able to contact him. And at the end, he blamed you for this, which is so sad because he didn't get the truth of what the forces were to keep you in this cult, so to speak. And what was it? A cult? Right. Was it a certain cult? Did it have specific rules and parameters? And if you can describe that.
Yeah, you do what you're told.
Do what you're told. Okay.
You don't stand up to anyone.
Okay.
You are raped and molested. We were used in child pornography. You smile when we say so. When the cameras come on, you do what you're told.
Mm-hmm.
You do it with a smile. You're not allowed to cry. You're not allowed to speak.
And mom's involved in grooming. And mom's involved. Okay.
She watched it all.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she watched it all.
Oh,
and you don't dare tell anyone. And when they ask you what happened to you, and because I remember this, I've remembered this for years. Well, you hit me. Smack. What happened to you? You hit me. Smack. They do this until you finally say, I fell down. And then that's when they leave you alone. So it's complete brainwashing.
Complete brainwashing. And so what we're doing is
and they pass you from men to men. They what? There's no end to the people. They pass you from men to men. I remember being molested at a month old.
What? Wait. This started at 1 month?
Oh, yes.
You were
the younger you are, the better.
1 month old.
Because they get power from that. You're innocent. You're a virgin. They use sex is the ultimate tool after the food deprivation.
So how do you? I'm really curious to know how you remember one, because we don't seem to have cognition at that particular point in time.
Right.
So.
And I've had people ask me that, and I realized through doing your mind mapping, I remembered this about 2 years ago because I get really quiet. and I will meditate and I will speak to the universe, and I've let go of all the lies, and I ask for anything to be revealed to me that is hidden that I need to heal from. So I was laying in bed one day and all this stuff came forward and I didn't want to believe it. I didn't know it was me. I was told it was me. And then I said, okay, if this is me, then prove it to me. My body went into trauma. I felt everything. And then luckily I went to counseling the next day because I could talk to my therapist about it, who did not bat an eye, who was not shocked, who was actually disgusted and happy that I'd remembered that.
Okay. So the body carries the trauma. The psyche goes into dissociation, as you know, and that's where the memory loss comes. And that's where people who are abused at such an early age, they leave. They dissociate from the body because who wants to be there? It's a perfect defense mechanism, right? So when you look at your panel,
and I could zone out at any time. I could leave my body and my spirit could watch. And that's what I did. And watching your videos and reading your book reminded me that, oh my goodness, Raquel, this is what you used to do.
Yeah.
And I realized I did not feel pain in my body because I was not in it. I was outside observing.
Yes, this is a derealization, a depersonalization, and it's effective. And thank God we have these defense mechanisms because they sure are useful in trauma. It's just that what happens is that we keep reverting to those defense mechanisms even when the threat is gone, and that's when the defenses are no longer relevant to the here and now. And then that's when they become our prisons and no longer our defenses. So we'll get into that when we get into panel 5, which will be next time, because today we're mind mapping 1, 2, and 3. So we could see on panel 1, you've got the sexual abuse and the verbal abuse, I'm assuming. Yes?
Everything. Oh, yes, that was horrible.
Okay, and what was the message?
We were told we should have been dead, that we weren't worth the air that we breathe. That's why I do not normally breathe at 48 years old.
Makes sense.
We were taught that anybody can use you for sex, that you have to submit to have food and shelter. We were told that we'd be killed all the time. You know, that I should have murdered you. I should have aborted you. If you don't shut the F up, I'll kill your sister. You know, everything.
And how many siblings do you
called
have?
Dirty words. Just one, and she lives in a mental hospital because she was angry and she didn't make it and she turned to drugs and alcohol.
Okay.
And rightfully so.
Right.
So she's not in her right mind.
Right. And so this carves such a deep hole in the soul that it's so painful that it has to be anesthetized in one way or the other. And your way seems like the depersonalization, the dissociation. And I'm wondering, did you also start to drink or use drugs to quell the pain? Was that part of it for you as well?
No, and that's the thing is that I've always been a person who wants to face the truth. So ever since I was little, I have looked for answers and said, why do I do this? Or why do I attract these people? I've always been like really kind of aware. And so rather than, I spend a lot of time alone pondering, you know, and talking to God. And so rather than ever turn to drugs or alcohol or anything, you know, street living or things like that, I would get alone and I would ask for answers. And I would self-protect by being alone, you know.
Well, that's really beautiful.
I don't know how I made it because my therapists have all said I'm a miracle, and they don't get it.
Well, I think
they don't even know how I have the capacity to love because I care deeply for people. I love people. I love humanity. I love animals.
Well, obviously, you're being courageous to other
Explain
people.
It to me because I'd like to know.
I think, okay, here's my impression. I think that your connection to a higher power, to God, kept your heart open. That's what I think. And so for those of you who don't know, the mind map is a psycho-spiritual model. Not everyone looks at it that way, and that's perfectly fine because I am a psychologist, and some people prefer that we don't bring in the higher power element, and that's perfectly fine.
Right.
I think in your case, it was very relevant because with all the darkness, you had to connect to a powerful light, and I think that might be why you're saner than your sister, right? Why you didn't go down the
Right.
rabbit hole
Well,
of,
you know, Judy, at 12 years old, that's an indoctrination point. And I remember stepping back and seeing the anger in the females in my family, because what I have learned is the females in my family were not created to nurture. They were created to damage humanity. They were brought forth to castrate men, to damage children, to breed what they've been breeding. And I seen that. And at 12 years old, I remember stepping back and thinking, I do not want to be like these ladies, these women, these females. I'm going to choose to love. And then that's when it really got hard.
And where were the men? Where were the men in this cult, in this satanic ritual cult?
Oh, we didn't really have men in our life unless they were my mom and aunt's boyfriends. My mother's married boyfriend teased us for being molested. For 8 years, that man tortured and tormented us and tried to keep our silence by teasing us and telling us that he was going to tell people we were whores and that we were molested and we were used. And he used some very graphic stuff. He actually helped to drive my sister out of her mind. But because I blocked out the being molested, my little brain segmented and put that stuff away till I could deal with it. I was able to stand up to him and say, you're a liar. I didn't get molested. But it made my sister feel shame and hate me, and it made him hate me even worse, where he would actually physically hurt me. Because he wanted us to be damaged, and my mother thought it was funny.
So this is an extreme form of projecting their own pain onto the child, and there's a term that we use in psychology called identification with the aggressor. So if your mother was hurt, then she identifies with the aggressor, and then grows up to project her aggression and her pain onto you. And miraculously, you didn't have the same desire to multi-generationally carry it forward to the next generation. And I have to say that I'm sure there are people out there thinking, is this for real? It's so out there,
know.
right?
Is
this for real? Do you ask yourself that sometimes?
I do. You know, journaling, I have like 50 pages just from journaling for you. I talk about my life for my boys so that if I die, they have the truth.
Okay.
And you know what? I learned to talk about it because I sit back and I watch him and I go, wow, you survived this. This was real. You're not a liar. You're telling the truth, and people don't want to believe you. This is sad.
Okay, so look.
But it's helped me.
But it helps you because I think one of the things that you've been yearning for, and your other therapist, psychologist, mentor, helped to be an identified, an enlightened witness to your pain. Yeah. And everybody needs that because otherwise we think that we're going insane. Because when everybody, right? When everybody reflects, you're horrible, you deserve to die, you shouldn't even breathe, this is the way your life is because you're dirty, you're bad, right? This is where we start encoding this information into the fiber of our being. So if we go to panel number 2, remember panel 2 in the video, we talk about the amygdala, the reactionary brain. We talk about the little child who reacts to this crazy world. This is a time in our infancy where we're supposed to feel safe and nurtured, and this is 180-degree opposite. We're supposed to build trust in our world, and what are you building? Right? This is a very, very sick, paranoid world. So what do you think, how do you think the baby of you, and we talked about it a little bit, how do you think the baby of you reacted to this level of torture, sexual, physical neglect, anything? How do you think the baby of you reacted?
Well, the baby in me learned that the bed was not safe.
The bed, the bed, which is supposed to be a haven, was not safe.
Yes, a rest, a place of rest, no.
Okay.
And that it's not comfortable to lay in bed, so I still carry this today.
Okay.
That bed gives you headaches. and bed is where bad things happen,
Awful.
and bed is where mommy incests you, and bed is where you have to lay in her sex stains. And so all these things have still kept me locked in bed is not comfortable. And that food, if you want food or you want to have a place to live, then you have to date the men that you're not attracted to, that enforce their way into your life, and you have to eventually give up sex immediately, because you'll be on the street and you'll not have food, and they'll eat your food and they won't leave you any of your own food. And I've developed food disorders.
Okay,
and food
so
intolerances.
remember how I say later on, we'll talk about this in even more depth. Our symptoms are clues and cues that point to the cause. So all of your symptoms make logical and psychological sense, don't they? That your relationship to your bed is really thwarted. Your relationship to food is also. So all of these associations, instead of comfort and nurturance, they're now darkened. So we'll move to panel 3, just because I really want you and the audience to understand what is panel 3. Panel 3 is encoding. So here you've been tortured in this manner. And so what did you encode into the fiber of your being? And encoding means the messages that you interpreted. So, for example, if a little child is called stupid, they're going to encode that they're stupid. Encoding happens non-verbally, pre-verbally, and then it's encoded verbally. It could also be through the body, right? Psychosomatic messages. So ultimately...
I've been waking up with bruises again. I have a long history of being beat up in my sleep and waking up with all the signs. Even waking up with bite marks on my body from the ritual abuse that's taking place while I'm sleeping. So that's made it not safe to sleep in bed either.
You can't even imagine. So what do you think you encoded in there? What did you interpret? Because little children interpret it to mean that it's all their fault. So did you think for a moment that it was all your fault, or could you see that you didn't have a fault in it?
Well, as a young child, I knew that I was not doing wrong until they just finally broke me.
Okay.
I think I was so desperately hungry for food and to be able to go inside out of the elements, because I was forced to stay outside, that I finally just gave in just to be fed and to be out of the rain and the sun. I was just a baby when they did that.
So they broke you, okay? So they broke you into believing things about yourself. And the encoding, panel 3, core belief, is the lie that you digest as a result of the abuse. So what do you think you encoded in there? What belief do you now have about yourself?
Okay. Well, I'll tell you that because of the stuff that I've been through and the people I attract, I have never really been safe. And so I have had to be very aware. But in doing your mind map, I realized that this hit me like 2 days after doing your program, and I did not want to write this down.
Okay.
That I don't deserve food because I'm not worth taking care of.
Wow.
The animals are more important to me, and animals will be fed over me, and I will suffer as I watch the animals eat their food.
Okay, so that you are not worthy. You're not even worthy of food. Okay, so let's look at the encoding and just get more clear on it. So if I said to your unconscious, Raquel, you're not worthy. You're not important enough to even deserve to eat. Would that ring true?
That sounds right.
Yeah.
It sounds right, because that's what people have done to me all these 48 years.
Okay. So at the core of you, you feel, as a result of this, you believe that you're worthless. Is that pretty accurate?
Yeah, and I was working on self-love and thought that I was starting to develop that until the truth came forward from doing your program, is that there's underlying beliefs that are lies that I have to deal with.
Correct. So this is what we're shining the truth light on, and we're shining the truth light on the lies that we buy into. So the difference between believing the lie and identifying the lie is a world of difference, because in one case we identify with it and we think that we're that person, we're worthless, we're dirty, we're unlovable, we're not worthy of anything, we're all of those things. When we identify the lie, we're really identifying the false DNA, the false, I call it the psychovirus. We're identifying, we're shining the truth light on the lie. So what happens to a lie when we shine a truth light on it?
Then you will start to believe differently, because I know I deserve food. It's a basic, it's a necessity.
Exactly.
I need that food. I deserve that food. My stomach was created for food. I should have it.
That's right. We're wired to eat, right? Okay,
so
it's
enjoyable.
It's actually enjoyable. Okay, so this is how we're going to continue to free you from this double dungeon of darkness and the lies that you ingested and the cracked lens of perception on the world that you must have formed as a result of looking at your community. Okay, so Raquel, with your permission, how far along are you in the mind map video series? What panel are you on?
Oh, I've watched them all probably like 5 times.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
I've only done the work up to panel 3 because I wanted to get through tonight. It's been very difficult and it's been very debilitating, but I'm happy to do it because it's my freedom. It's giving me my life back.
Okay.
It's exposing the stinking lies.
Yeah, and this is
that I didn't know were there. I thought I'd uncovered them all.
Yeah, and you know, sometimes I think I've done this once before with a volunteer to mind map the volunteer, and this is really the darkest of probably what the audience you guys are hearing, and thank you, because people out there in the world want to know that there's hope. And so people will think, well, you know, the people who've only been called stupid, or the people who've been hit a little bit, or the people who've been damaged a little bit, well, they get to do really well and they're going to do fine with the mind map, but they think, well, you know, I don't think me. I've been raped, I've been beaten, I've been used in rituals. And there's, you know, that's why I so appreciate you volunteering your story and your experience, because I want to give people hope out there who have really gone through hell and back and have lost the belief. Because that's what happens. They've lost everything.
And everyone.
Yes, because when you go through such an extreme form of torture, then there's no trust in the world. Your lens of perception on the world is why trust anyone, and that is a first stage of development, is to pass the trust versus mistrust stage. And with the background that you've had, how is it possible to pass the trust and stage, because there is none. So we're going to continue this with your permission. How was this for you, being on air?
Oh, I love it.
You loved it?
I love talking to you. I feel so safe with you. My soul was screaming out, and I reached out to you. I knew you were safe, and like I said, I had to test you first to see, but I knew that this was going to be something for me, and I don't even like the word hope, but I am hopeful. And I am expecting my life to turn around where I start to become functional.
Yes.
I'm the worst case that probably all 6 of my therapists have ever seen.
Well,
the worst they've ever seen, and they don't understand it. So you saying that validates that for me. Thank you, because you're the professional who developed this wonderful program, and I'm exhilarated.
And thank you.
I want to live.
I thank you, because, you know, when I developed it, I had no idea its impact. You know, you develop something, and then in theory you hope to God that it's going to impact. And so I think that
it's impacting already.
Okay. All right. So we're going to continue this. And again, for those of you who want to come join me in September, you included, Raquel, okay? Please contact me at Dr. Judy at WTF.com or actually Dr. Judy at psychologicalhealingcenter.com. You can call me. You can access my website. Sign up early. You will get that $300 discount. It comes with the mind map video series, and then I will in person deliver the mind map video system. No, the in person deliver the system live over a 3-day period of time, and then you can take the mind map video series with and have that as a way to always refer back to this process. So stay tuned next week. Raquel, we're going to go through panel number 4, 5, 6. Okay, and please call in around the time that you did. So I'll introduce the theme, and then we'll go on mind mapping your chaos, your defenses, and your breakdowns. And now I'm going to shrink a tune. And the tune, yes, this is a dark tune for a dark subject, and it is called Down with the Sickness by Disturbed. And you can jump in and help me analyze. I know we only have about 5 minutes, but can you feel that? Oh, can you feel that?
Yeah.
Drowning deep in my sea of loathing, broken, your servant, I kneel. That's you being subjected to the torture to succumb.
That's me.
Will you give in to me? That's the evil forces, yes? Will you give in to me? It seems what's left of my human side is slowly changing in me. Will you give in to me? Looking at my own reflection when suddenly it changes, violently it changes. Oh no, there's no turning back now. You've woken up the demon in me. Sounds like you didn't exactly succumb to the dark side. We're mainly talking more about your mother and the other people. They totally succumbed, didn't they?
They did, yeah.
Get up.
Yes.
Come on, get down with the sickness. Get up. Come on, get down with the sickness. Open your hate and let it flow into me. That's the sick projection and the torture. Wow, this is a heavy song. Get up. Come on, get down with the sickness. You mother, get up. Come on, get down with the sickness. You effer, get up. Come on, get down with the sickness. Madness is the gift that has been given to me. I can see inside you the sickness is rising. Don't try to deny what you feel. Will you give in to me? And it seems that all that was good has died and is decaying in me. It seems you're having some trouble in dealing with these changes. No kidding, right? Who wants to accommodate to this? Living with these changes, you've awoken the demon in me. And then I'll go on, skip some of the chorus. No, mommy. Don't do it again. Don't do it again. I'll be a good boy. I'll be a good boy. I promise. No, mommy, don't hit me. Why did you have to hit me like that, mommy? Don't do it. You're hurting me. Why did you have to be such a bitch? Why don't you just F off and die? So this is the child finally getting angry, which you're going to go through this process also to clean this damage, right?
I'm angry.
Yeah, so you're going to tell everybody to F off, okay, so that you can heal.
I have.
Good? Okay. Why can't you just leave me here and die? Never stick your hand in my face again. F you. I don't need this. You stupid, sadistic, abusive, effing whore. How would you like to see how it feels, mommy? Here it comes. Get ready to die. Okay, so this is what we're going to be discussing mostly in panel number 6, where you're going to take the pain and suffering, and we're going to literally, as I like to put it, very appropriately so for this topic, a psychological exorcism of this pain and torture so that you can be freed up from this. Okay, so that's where we're headed.
I even went to an exorcist, and all they did was hurt me. It was a scam. The biggest exorcist in the world. I tried everything to get free.
Okay, all right.
So I'm excited about the next one. Yay.
I'm very, very honored to have been part of this for your healing, and we're going to continue down this, I call it the yellow brick road to healing. And please join me next week, and audience too, please join me. And if you'd like to partake of this Mind Map seminar, September 14th, 15th, and 16th. You get me live in a group at the Psychological Healing Center in Sherman Oaks, lunch included, 3-day seminar. We'll make it very interesting, very loving, very supportive, very healing. And you will also get the Mind Map video series to have forever, a hard copy of the book, the PDF version of the book, and lots of support. So please join me back here next week. And Raquel, call in as you did today, and I look forward to processing panel 456 with you.
Thank you so much, and I appreciate you so much.
You're
Thank
so
you.
very welcome. My honor. And good night, everybody.
Mine too. Thank you.
You're very
Good
welcome.
night.
Good night. Good night, everybody.